Hey guys, alright, so don't mind that giant eyesore back there. That's just the rocket Gibraltar. We'll get to that in a future video when we get through our trips. We had lost our videos, I think, as Heather mentioned in the last one, with some data corruption. Today is going to be the intro for our electrical components. I just want to remind you guys that we are working on setting up some videos of our travels here, as well as a continuation of how we got our van from the US here to Europe. And we'll go into that in greater details, so stay tuned. We're trying about once a week to put a video out, but the connectivity here is a little spotty at best. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the electrical. This might be a two parts, I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. Inside our cabinet here, we have 3 batteries. They're 100 amp hours apiece, and they're from Windy Nation. Still, everything kept 12 volt. The system itself is all run off of either 12 volt, and the AC side of the house is going to be set to standard US 110 at 60 hertz. Now, I did that for a couple reasons. One, I plan on bringing the van back with me to the US and doing traveling there potentially, or if we need to sell it back there. Two, a lot of our components that we had for the van, we can easily get 110 here in the United States through Amazon and other online purchases. So it wasn't a big deal. In addition to that, we'll go into it a little bit further, but there's ways you can convert and attach or sync 220 with 110. It's not easy, but it's possible. All right, so what I want to capture with all of this is that electricity for a van or a vehicle specifically is easy. But it's only easy if you keep it in small pieces. If you try to think of how big this monster is and how big of a mess your wire runs are going to be, it gets really complicated pretty fast. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw out for you guys a layout of my diagram so it gives you a visual aid for what we're doing. Because right now, if I just shoved the camera in here and just showed you the parts, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. And to me, YouTube has infinite amount of knowledge on how to build these systems. Guys out there have been doing it way more than I have, and a lot cleaner installs, a lot better in my opinions, a lot of high dollar. But we were able to keep this relatively cost effective and get to the state that we need to be. We have extra capacity for anything we need, and we can continue to build onto the system. So bottom line, keep it simple, and you'll be able to make the system work for whatever your needs are, and just chew it at it, or bite at it if you will, just a little piece at a time, and you'll be set to go. Alright, I'm going to start building into this, and I hope you guys watch the video. The video is going to be rather short because it doesn't really capture, or you guys really don't want to see me for 4 or 5 hours running wiring all around inside the van. So that's why I'll be relatively short. Alright. Chet just took off at the airport in the rocket Gibraltar.
We missed it!
Missed it. We've been trying to catch one of those all day. Alright, we'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. Hey folks, well, it is mail time. We've got some rain coming in, so I was hoping to get started on some big projects. In case you aren't sure, the van is full of junk. Isn't that pretty? That's the Go Power 2000 watt inverter. That is our DC refrigerator. That is our trailer hitch. And right here are two 100 amp hour batteries from Windy Nation. So I'm gonna get these out, and then I'm gonna get those charging on the battery tender here, and make sure those are up and running. And while those charge, I'm gonna either tackle the refrigerator, figure out how we're going to install that bad boy, or start working on the trailer hitch. Those are 2 ginormous boxes that are in the way right now in the van, and we are kind of running thin on space. So I'll film both of those, and then we'll talk about them as 2 separate projects, but kind of doing them all at the same time. All right, let's talk batteries real quick. We chose to get these. I say these. In case it wasn't clear, we did get two 100 amp hour batteries. They run about 60 pounds a piece. They are sealed AGM batteries. We could have gotten something for a lot less, for much more amp hours. I say a lot less. In the end, we paid about $200 a piece for each one of these batteries, so it's about $450. I'm not sure if that's right. Hang on, I'll put a thing right here if I'm lying to you or not. Sorry, I've been buying stuff like crazy right now. So, anyways, the reason we did these is these are sealed glass mat, or you'll hear them called AGM, absorbent glass mat batteries, and these batteries are fantastic. Because they're basically service-free batteries. You don't spend the time you do with typical lead-acid batteries, filling them, checking, making sure the pH and the bounce and everything are okay with the batteries. That's where these come to pay a lot of dividends, is that they're completely maintenance-free. Some of the things to keep in mind with these, why I was willing to spend the extra buck on these, since they are sealed, there's less risk of them, I'll say less, not guaranteed, there's less risk of them off-gassing, in other words, making hydrogen gas, and these become a serious issue if you are living in the same compartment as your batteries, which frankly we will be. They'll be sleeping in the cabinet right above them. So that was a major concern for me, so that's one of the reasons why I went with this route instead of a typical lead-acid battery for a quarter of the cost. That being said, that handle goes on there. We're super excited about these. We've heard a lot of good things about them, and you got to start off taking care of your battery like there's no tomorrow. Ooh, it's pretty. Good packing. Used a 1-inch styrofoam all the way around, top and bottom. Came with the lugs. I'm going to go ahead and keep this in here, and I'm going to go ahead and keep the battery in here, and I'm just going to hook it up to the charger. Let the charger do its thing. Get these guys up to snuff. Now you might be asking, what'd you do for a charger? Went and grabbed a 5 amp battery tender. This is one of their high-end IP67 units. I was toying with the idea of mounting it underneath the van. It's like shock-proof. It's waterproof. It doesn't say it anymore. It's odd, but it has a lot of use me in the worst possible conditions. And one of the nice things I like about these batteries chargers, is it comes with the terminal ends for batteries. Now this is nice because it allows you to hook up 2 batteries to charge them. So I can always keep this side permanently hooked up to the batteries, and then I'll run the pigtail out and just plug it in, take this guy, walk it out to the van and plug it in whenever I need to plug in. Another nice thing about this is they make a 220 watt version that is available in Europe, and you can basically just go get this. It has the same exact plug, and you just switch it out. It's like $60 to $70. Voila, I've got a battery charger that I can utilize it in Europe off of shore power. Not saying I'm an idiot, but sometimes you just have to think about other options other than just going out there and buying a Xantrax that has the 220 option and it's $2,000. $60 will work every day of the week. Oh, and in case I didn't say this more specifically, you can charge multiple batteries with this. This has been around forever, so this shouldn't be a shock to anybody. But what I mean by that is, if you're set up for series or parallel and you have multiple batteries, 2, 4, 6, whatever it might be, you can hook these up, for my case, parallel. You can hook this up to the positive of battery A, you can hook this up to the negative of battery B, boom, it'll run through all the same, 7 or 8 stages of charging that these things come with nowadays. It's crazy. And yeah, and both of them will be equalized and bounced and desulfated and all that crazy goodness. So, let's get this guy going. Okay, mail day continues. What we have here is a refrigerator. Let me put you on a stand here so I can talk to you. This is something I really didn't want to do. I really kind of felt like I would just get a cooler throw some ice in there, and we'd be done. I was outvoted by one person, and she decided we were going to have a refrigerator. So I really was going to just get one of these cheapy college dorm room refrigerators, which were 110 AC, plug it into the inverter, and just have a switch for it, on, off when you don't need it. The amperage draw on those, even the little ones, insane. I was looking at somewhere between maybe 12 hours of compressor runtime on some of the medium-sized dorm room fridges, and I was like, that's never going to work. It'll kill my batteries off. That'll be the primary user of the batteries. So I got basically arm twisted by a couple folks on YouTube. They said go look into DC refrigerators, and that's where we got this little dorm room guy. He is made by Dometic. I believe he's like 3 cubic feet? No, 2 cubic feet or something like that. Maybe even less. I'm just telling all sorts of lies. But I'll put it right down here. It's a fantastic little fridge. It's DC. So I'm going to measure this and see if I can get it installed in one of the cabinets. Wish me luck. Alright. The rain left me alone for about an hour. The humidity did not. Progress. Step number 2. Installed the Dometic fridge. Put it inside the cabinet right here. I really wish this came with like a piece of trim that goes around it, so that way it didn't look so kind of raw. So I'm going to fab up a piece of trim later this weekend. This week we're supposed to finish up the ceiling. I'm going to put some quarter round down on the floor. I think I'm just going to put a little piece of quarter round around the edges here, just to kind of clean it up a bit. Just kind of wanted to see the transition a little better, and I got some extra laying around. Hey, Heather's here. Let's show her the refrigerator. I'm not going to say I get a lot of progress done when you guys are gone, but I got a lot of progress done.
That's good. We got a lot done when you were gone, too.
Good.
We got to go to my Finny's. I got a present.
You got a present. Where's my present? There's my present. Yummy. Heather's abandoning me.
I have to go take care of a sick kid.
We
May or may not be sick.
We have 9 days left till we leave. This is the van. It doesn't have counters.
I might be getting sick again, and he's definitely sick, and we're all going down.
And it hasn't stopped raining for like 3 days. Like everything is soaking wet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try to get tackling the electrical system. The batteries came in. We were talking about the Windy Nation stuff. One of the batteries is cracked, so that put a damper on just about everything right now. So I talked to Windy Nation. They did a great job. They're turning it around. They're sending me back one before I even send it to them. So it should be here in about 4 days. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing the mock-up and everything off of one single battery.
I'm going to go abandon him because I feel like I do that all the time. And I'm going to get the family orange juice.
Lots of orange juice.
Lots and lots of orange juice. We're surviving.
Just super excited about getting to Spain.
Yes.
But there's so much crap between now and Spain.
There really is.
At some point, we just are just going to cut our losses.
Or we're just going to start crying.
No crying allowed in baseball.
That's good. We're not playing baseball.
All right, let's get started on electrical. We'll let her go get some OJ.
Yep.
All right, for the electrical, the batteries are in. They are, we already talked about this, 100 amp hours. This is what I'm thinking here. Is an empty project, an empty canvas, if you will. So we got one battery. My goal is to do 2 batteries, and I'm going to build a wall or shelf for the inverter. Let me be clear about this. This is an inverter being housed with a battery. This is not something you should do in the event you are housing an inverter next to what we call a typical lead acid battery. When they charge, or when they're getting used, they create hydrogen. Hydrogen is extremely flammable. These are sealed batteries, so that's why I'm comfortable placing these batteries in the same compartment as the inverter. Inverters tend to spark sometimes. Gotta get a new fan belt for the air conditioner. Sounds terrible. So that's the game plan. Just wanted to note that. Okay, so back to the game plan here. So there you see our batteries. I'm going to put one here and one right in front. I'm going to cut a hole in the ground so it sits directly onto the platform or onto the floorboard of the van, and then I'm going to build a shelf. That shelf is going to have the inverter, and then I'm going to run AC or positive and negative up to this post, the battery disconnect here. Idea is to have a fuse for the inverter, 200 amp fuse breaker, and then from there into a DC fuse panel, and each one of the lights, water pump, refrigerator will all be fused and wired here for the switches. I'm sorry, you won't be able to see that. Wired here on this wall for the switches. So recap, 2 batteries, shelf, inverter, DC is going to be mounted up there on the wall, and then on this wall here is going to be the switches. Keep it simple and don't be stupid. That is my goal with electrical. I have an AC side, I have a DC side, that's it. The only curveball here is I'm running a Blue Sea isolator from the starter battery to the house batteries so the alternator can charge it up. That's the only curveball. Everything else, keep it simple. Very simple. I don't need to have this grandiose wiring scheme going everywhere, which granted that's how it's going to look when it's done, but right now it's very small pieces, and you build small pieces into bigger pieces. Stand by, I'll get ready to draw you a schematic of what the simple idea is.
Welcome back from SantaFeFree.com.
Hey! We lost a lot of our videos, so we're going to be shooting some recaps real quick. This is the diagram of how we set up our electrical system in the van. B is going to be my assistant today, and we're going to continue on through this video. This will be real short on, hey, how did we set up our electricity, draw a diagram for you, and then I want you guys to look in the links below. They will tell you or link you to all the guys in YouTube who helped me out, who can teach you way better than I can because they did excellent jobs on learning how to size the systems, what type of batteries to use, what type of wire to use, what type of connectors, how to make those connections, what type of inverters, I mean, on and on and on. All right, you ready to get started, B?
Yep.
All right, so to start, the big thing I want you guys to take away with electricity, and it's simple. You have to just look at it in small pieces. So this is a battery. And so let's say we got our LED lights, and you have a positive leg and you have a negative leg that comes off of it. If you want to make this light glow off of this battery, assuming of course this is a 12 volt LED and this is a 12 volt battery, you run an electrical wire to one of the positive legs and the negative legs. You complete this circuit and it's a loop. And the light will turn on. Alright, simple enough, right? Oh, thank you. Ooh, I like that. That's ambiance. Okay, so now let's say you don't want this light to stay on all the time. You don't want to have to disconnect the battery post. So what do? You add a switch. So here's a switch. Alright, simple enough. Now you can put this switch anywhere inside the van, turn the light on, off. Everything is the same. So regardless if this was a light bulb, a water pump, a fan, the principle is all going to be the same. Something to keep in mind also is I want you guys to get smart, and those are for the links below for the guys who are smarter than I am. They'll teach you how to size this wire. So it's one thing if you have a small LED light bulb. Well, now let's say you're powering a 10 amp fan on DC power, and you have to run like 10, 12 feet of cable. That changes a lot. You have to make sure you have fuses, you have to make sure you have the right size wire, and you want to do all this to protect yourself and the family, or whoever's sleeping in the van. So that's what we did, and right now I'll start showing you how we drew our van. Inside our van we have how many batteries? 3 batteries. All of them are made by Windy Nation. They're 100 amp batteries. And we have 2 sides of the house to talk about. We have a DC side and we have an AC side. Let's talk about the DC side. So we're going to run a positive and a negative up to what is called a bus fuse block, sorry. So the positive goes up here, the negative goes right here. Alright, so that goes up to our fuse block, and inside this fuse block you have wire hookups for all your negatives, and you have wire hookups for all your positives. And these all run my DC side of the house. Now what do I have in my DC side of the house? I have LED lights. I call it LED 1, LED 2, LED 3. Those are all the lights that I have, so different areas. Like I have lights in the back over the sink. I have lights down along the counter. I have lights up in front where the driver and the passenger sits. So I have 3 banks of LED lights. Now, on the other side I have, excuse me skeleton, it's almost Halloween here. On the other side I have my water pump. I have a fan, a max air fan, which is not done yet, it still needs to be installed. And I have a DC refrigerator. That's it. I have basically 6 things occupying a 12 position fuse block. So I have 6 other positions. I can add, I can scale up, I can scale down. I don't know why I would. But that's my DC side of the house. Really simple. Now, things to keep in mind, LED draws on the DC side, very small. So most of these fuses that are in here, and these are standard ATO fuses. They're the same fuses you plug in and out of your car underneath right there. They have mini ATO and regular ATO. So those ATO fuses all sit right in here. They take care of this. These are probably like 5 amps for 6 or, I think I have 6 lights on one LED bank. And way overkill for LEDs. Now, that's not way overkill for a DC fridge that is going to be pulling somewhere between, I would say 5 to 6 amps on average for a current draw. Probably not that much, like 4 amps, which is fantastic by the way. If you do a comparison to a DC to an AC fridge, DC is way more efficient. I don't know why we don't use it more often. Okay, that concludes my DC side of the house. Excuse me.
10 pounds is the battery.
Let's talk AC side of the house. First up, in order to make alternating current, you have to have an inverter.
Beep.
Once again, down below is a link to a guy who does a whole bunch of reviews on inverters. He talks about it. We use the Go Power. It's a reputable company. It comes out of Canada. It's rebranded or something. The Winds use it. All these high-end RV guys recommend it. It's a little pricey. It's a solid product. I'll tell you that right now. Instructions that came with it, the only thing I found that was sketchy was talking about the gauge of wires you had to run. It wasn't exactly accurate. I think they were trying to overkill and protect themselves. I mean, it was insane. It was like 2-watt wire if you ran anything less than 2 feet. I'm exaggerating. But it was way overprotective. So I got on the phone with them. They calmed my nerves. They said, hey, these are how you need to set this up. So I wasn't going to be investing, another $1,000 to make this electrical runs. All right, now let's talk. So, same deal. You're going to have the inverter, and I have it hardwired to the battery. Ready? You draw a line from there to here. So this inverter, a Go Power, 2,000 watt pure sine inverter. You guys are probably watching this. You already know what pure sine is and what the difference between a pure sine and modified is. The next step is that I have it wired out, or it's hard. I have it wired in with 2 smiley faces, but those are supposed to be 115 volt standard US outlets. I have from here a 14 gauge outdoor cable that I spliced into 2 110 outlets receptacles, and those are mounted on the sides of the cabinets. Now the same thing happened over here. I have another 110, and then that one's spliced or in series with the next 110, and that's it. Everything that I need for AC power, I have to plug into one of these 4 outlets, and they're strategically placed around the van. Okay, so I wanted to get back into this video. You guys can kind of see what I was going through. Everything that started was, like I already said, it was simple, it was small. I was turning on a light bulb, and then I expanded it from there. The big takeaway, I want you guys to be safe. These can be dangerous situations. There's a lot of power that's running through here, and if you do something wrong, you fry yourself, you touch somebody, it's going to hurt or you're going to get something worse. So please be safe. If you're not comfortable doing it, go find somebody. They'll help you out through it. I will tell you this. I am not an electrical expert by any means, but I was comfortable enough to start small and build my confidence as I went through it, and I had some friends who looked over my shoulder and made sure to say yes or no. That's enough said. So let's get back to this video, take a look at it. Oh.
Be careful, you could get zapped by thunder.
The other thing is fuses. Don't skimp on fuses and wiring. You're going to need to have the right size wire, right size fuses. And it'll take care of everything. Alright, back to the video. Enjoy your watching. If you have any questions or comments on how we did the build, please comment below. Thanks, buddy. High five.
And don't forget to subscribe. Happy Halloween, you YouTube followers. Okay, he's dead. Bye-bye. I'm leaving the room.
That's it.
Bye-bye, YouTube!
So here's the end result of the batteries. So we recessed them under the cabinet so they are sitting on the actual like floor of the van. I'm gonna run some battery tie downs that go they use on the outside of trailers. I'm gonna run these over the top of the batteries and I'm gonna screw those in onto the bottom. This is me mocking it up right now. The idea is to take the inverter is going to sit here with its fuse breaker, and the battery switch is going to go up here on the wall. So AC is going to be here on the top, and the DC is going to be there on the wall. Yeah, it's going to be nice. Most of the wiring for this is going to be coming through the back of the wall over here, so I'm going to end up notching a big hole somewhere over here to route the wiring down so it can connect to the DC panel, and then back out over here so it can be on the switches. Alright, that's it. Just want to give you guys a quick update. Keep moving on. Heather always gives me grief because I forget, I always laugh at her if she forgets to hit the record, so I just finished doing about 5 minutes of recording and without having any record actually on. But stayed up for the most part last night. I wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at with electrical build out. Here we are. What you see here is we have our batteries. The batteries are then moved in parallel to increase the amp hours. We have the ground leg goes up here to this shunt. This shunt is the monitor, battery monitor and system monitor, so I'll wire all that in. This goes into a 4-bus bar made by Blue Sea. It's called a terminal bus bar just because of the size of the lugs. And then let's go back, and then pretty much the same thing for the positive leg. Only difference right now is we have a battery switch on, off, and this runs up to the other positive terminal bar. And then both of these are coming together at the Blue Sea 12 position fuse panel. And these use the ATO fuses. So this is your positive side, this is your negative side. My goal with these is they'll run all of our lights, water pumps, refrigerators, and then they'll be linked into a switch panel that'll be mounted here on the wall. You'll obviously access it from the other side, but that's where the wires will run over to. Alright, so as far as the build goes, that's pretty much it for right now. Just want to give you guys a quick update. Step 2 from here is put the shelf in, build the inverter, and then we're going to start wiring up AC and DC circuits. Alright guys, I'm here. I'm going to show you what the final product of our electrical system looked like. I'm going to walk you through the batteries, and then from the batteries to the DC side, from the DC side to the AC side, and a little bit in between. Alright, let's get started so we can wrap this video up. It's getting pretty long. Alright, here inside this block of wood is the batteries. I have the 3 Windy Nation batteries. I started with 2. This rig section over here is the addition to the 3rd. Windy Nation let me keep the cracked battery that they sent me, and so I went and found some JB Weld industrial chemical stuff, patched it up, threw it in there. Thanks Windy Nation for letting me do that. I appreciate it. Alright, from the batteries I run up a positive leg, which has my main battery cut off, to a positive terminal. Same happens on the other side. I've got the batteries run in parallel over, wait, which way? That way. Over to the negative terminal, and from there those two terminals split off, and you have a positive side and a negative side, and both those positive sides and negative sides feed our DC and our AC side. We'll start on the DC. This is the basically the center of gravity here. So from the negative terminal, I feed a 14 gauge wire comes into the top here, and a 14 gauge positive wire, this little skinnier one, goes to the bottom. This is a fuse block that feeds all of our DC side of the house. So our LED lights, our fan, our refrigerator, and our water pump all originate power from here, and these are all fused, and then those lines run from here out to a specific switch to operate those appliances. I'll show you one of those switches in a second, or I'll overlay it here in this picture. Go, Alan. Next is the AC side. The AC side are these ginormous 2 gauge wires that come off, and they feed these breakers. This is a 200 amp resettable breaker, and that 200 amp positive wire runs down here to the back of the Go Power on the positive side. Same happens on the negative side. Let's see if you can see that. Ooh, you can see that? So you have a negative wire, it's hard to see, but that negative wire goes up from the batteries and back down into the Go Power. Something to think about here is on this negative side, that's where we place our battery monitoring system. So the battery monitoring shunt is the middle one, the far end one is our batteries, and this one right here goes to the Go Power. Alright, the Go Power basically hardwired into our batteries, and then I utilized the front 115 volt. This was easier. You can take this panel off and you can hardwire in through here for all of your outlets. Thank you. All of your outlets. But I just utilized this outlet because it's internally grounded, and I run it over to some GFI breakers. So there's the back of one, so you can see this wiring is very expensive. It came from Home Depot. It's a 14 gauge outlet wires or outdoor wires, and I basically cut it in half and then wired these outlets in series. So I got one on both sides. The driver's side and a passenger side has 2 outlets for a total of 4 outlets across the entire van. Alright, and those outlets are responsible for supplying the power to any of our AC. Alright, so I showed you the DC, everything goes to the fuse block, splits off from there. I showed you the AC, everything goes to the Go Power, and the Go Power I utilize the plugs, and it runs all the way around the van. Things to talk about include the ACR charger, which is this bad boy here. So I have 2 ways of charging right now. The first way is through this automatic charging relay. This takes energy from the engine, and while it's running, I think I have the 260 amp, I don't know if that's right, 260 amp alternator option on this van. The van takes from the alternator, charges the starter battery first, and then all the excess flows over to these house batteries, charges it like a dream. Does a great job. Highly recommend. That was pricey. That was like $200, so keep that in mind. The next way I charge is, voila, is a battery tender. These battery tenders are made both in the US and Europe, so you can get a 110 spec'd out US one, or you can get a 220 spec European tender. And the best thing about it is those plugs are exactly the same. You won't have to worry about doing it. Alright, things I need to tell you. Don't forget your battery switches. These are some of the ginormous fuses that you need to have when you're running one of these inverters. It's like a 200 amp fuse. I limited the whole system forward and after for the inverter to 200 amps. So it is a monster. You can go higher on these 2,000 watts. I believe I'm only going to be able to pull maybe about 1,800 watts at full, or sorry, 2,000 watts at full capacity. You can spike that above 2,000 according to Go Power for roughly about I think it's like half a second or something. So for like those motors that you have to kick on hard, but I'm just not comfortable doing that. Next up, these gang switches. Highly recommend you guys get ones that are already pre-built for you. They can take care of it. They actually have fuses that are internal to them, and you can basically plug and play, figuratively. Plug and play, it's all set up for you. You don't have to run the jumper wires or anything. Alright, that is about it for this electrical cabinet, if you will. It's run everything. It's been fantastic. I have zero complaints over Blue Sea, Go Power, any of their products. Everybody's been fantastic. The Windy Nation batteries, fantastic. This thing I was so worried about, and I spent so much time making sure it was going to be reliable and consistent. Fantastic. Let me show you the outlets, some of the switches, and the battery monitor. Come on, let's go. Okay, so here is kind of the control center, if you will, so to speak. Battery monitor, what this monitors for us is our voltage, our amps, the power that we are currently consuming, and it keeps track of my overall energy consumption, like an odometer, if you will, for the system. It's been fantastic. These are the switches. These run all of our LED lights. You can kind of see they're running on, as well as our fridge. I didn't want our fridge being hardwired in and running all the time, so I kept it on a switch just so that way I could turn it on and off. I recommend you do that, because frankly, you can turn it on, it stays cold. You can throw a wireless monitor in there. I've gotten that idea from some other RV guys. And you cool it off, monitor it, set an alarm, and if it gets too warm, come back here, flip the switch, DC refrigerator starts running again, saves you power. Next up is a Go Power. Here we go. This is one of the Go Power remote switches. The switch is just flips on the inverter, and it turns on all of these outlets. These outlets you can grab from Home Depot or Lowe's. They're kind of pricey, but they come with 2 USB plugs that are ready for DC, and you can run some other stuff. $110 a piece. That's almost it. If you guys are curious, I also grabbed a couple of the cheap little outlets or switches for the water pump, as well as for some standalone lights, and they are right here. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. That concludes our electrical build. It was really daunting at first, but we got through it. It was really challenging and very rewarding at the end. I would say if you have any questions or comments or concerns, throw them down below. I'll be happy to get to those for you. Stay tuned with us. We're continuing the build. We got the fan. We got the fan, a water tank, and then we're going to roll into how we got the logistics solved to get the van over here. Yep, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
Down below, right on his face.
Something like that. Bye guys.